Hello, I'm James from the PlayStation blog. I'm here at Gamescom with David Cage, writer and creator of Heavy Rain. Now, I always find it quite interesting to talk to you about storytelling in video games as a medium. I mean, what are the challenges in writing a game as opposed to something with a more fixed narrative, say a short story?
Well, there are many challenges. The first one is probably the interface, because most games are really based on mechanics, repetitive mechanics and loops, and in fact story don't like loops. I mean, you need contextual actions, you need the characters who are able to do many different things in many different ways, where in games most characters are focused on like 4, 6, 8 actions. So you need to free the hero from the interface and find an interface that is entirely contextual. Then the other difficulty is probably to tell not only one good story but many good stories, because depending on what the player does, you want the story to evolve consequently. So you need to find technique to be able to create a tree branching structure that you can control, that doesn't come completely huge and beyond control. So you find technique and then you do a lot of work. To give you an example, a movie script is about 120 pages, where the script of Heavy Rain, for example, it's about 2,000 pages. So that's very different work, even in matter of volume.
And of course, your writing is half of what we see on the screen. The other half, in many ways, is the actor's input, particularly when you're working with actors across many different languages. What's been your process for recruiting and then conveying your concept to the actors?
Well, it's a game where we spent about a year doing casting sessions, well, in France or in the UK, because we wanted to create clones. We didn't want to have one actor doing the voice, another doing the facial, another doing the body. We really wanted one consistent real person being cloned in 3D, so we needed the right face, the right voice, and of course the right talent. So it took us a year, and we finally found the characters, the actors that we wanted, and they really became the characters. At a point where, when I was doing sessions with one of them recently, for a second, when I saw him in the studio, I had a shock, and I thought, "Whoa, that's a video game character." And no, it's a real actor. And the work with the actors has been very interesting, and they were incredibly involved in the project. The collaboration was spread through probably 12 to 15 months, which is really a long time for actors, and they came back and they worked very hard on the script. They know the script as well as I do, and they learned their lines by heart, and they were really deeply involved in all this, in creating a real character, believable character in 3D.
Now, moving on to what you spoke about at the press conference, which was specifically, to quote you, it was love, guilt and redemption. I think we got a sense of love and guilt from the context of the story. Could you speak a bit more about how redemption is going to come into that?
No.
Okay, good answer.
No, it's really a part of the story. In fact, it's all the stories about, well, a part of the story is about Ethan Mars, this young father who lost his own son. As he was supposed to take care of him, he lost him in the crowd, and the kid get hit by a car and died. So this character really lives with this very painful memory, and really with this feeling of guilt, very strong feeling of guilt. And he needs to take care of his second son, but it doesn't work anymore. When he was a successful architect in the past, he's separated from his wife when he had very successful family life before, and he's supposed to take care of his second son, but he doesn't want to leave really anymore because of what happened. And when his second son is kidnapped by the origami killer, Ethan knows that he has only 4 days to find his son alive. So he will be confronted with his own fears and his own feeling of guilt, and he will need to find solutions to that, looking for redemption that way.
I mean, you're introducing a new scene here at Gamescom, which I'd like to touch on in a second, but one thing I've always wondered is it ever a concern that the more you show, the more you risk kind of giving people spoilers for when they finally get the game into their lounge?
It's it's this type of game that is really difficult to demonstrate on trade shows like Cologne or E3, because when you do a shooter, it's very simple. You put that on a booth and people can play, and everybody knows what you're talking about and what a first-person shooter is supposed to do. Here with Heavy Rain, what's difficult is that it's very based on emotional involvement from the player, which requires some time to build and also it requires you to be in a calm and quiet environment so you can really listen to what's going on, listen to the music, and really get emotionally involved in this experience. So at the same time, because it's new, it's something that has to be shown and explained in order to convince people that yes, this is playable. No, it's not a movie that you watch, it's really something that you play second to second. And you can tell it 1,000 times, it will never replace the fact that people can actually play it and see it by themselves. So we had to give scenes, maybe more scenes than other games. So we have revealed 4 scenes total. All of them are very different. They show different characters in very different situations with very different types of gameplay. So we found 4 scenes that don't reveal anything very important about the story, but still illustrate some key points of what the game is about.
Now to speak specifically about that scene, I've been far too busy to actually get my hands on it myself. So for as much for my benefit as a PlayStation communities, can you give us a brief synopsis?
Oh sure, the scene with Scott Shelby. Scott Shelby is a private detective, and he was he was charged by the family of the victims to make an investigation, a parallel investigation on the origami killer case to try to find clues that maybe the police has missed. And so he goes into different parents and try to interview them and try to see if they can remember something that maybe they forgot to mention to the police that could lead Shelby to a clue. So he goes in this 7-Eleven shop where he knows that the shopkeeper and the owner is the father of one of the kids who disappeared. So he talks to him, and the father doesn't want to tell him anything. So Shelby ends up looking for an inhaler because he suffers of asthma in the back of the store, and this is the moment where a robber comes in, and he seems very nervous. He takes his gun and he wants money from the shopkeeper, and he doesn't know that Shelby is in the store. So as the player, you can decide what you want to happen. Maybe you can stay hidden and don't move and don't make any noise and see what happens, or you can try to intervene and you can try to use violence. You can try to take something, maybe a bottle or something, in the shop and try to hit the robber in the back. Or you may try just to appear and convince him and talk to him and try to convince him that this is not a good idea. There are many different ways of playing the scenes with many different things that can happen and different conclusions. So it's up to the player to decide how he wants to play that. I wanted to show this scene because it's a very, very detailed environment. You will see the shop is quite a small place, but it's really very detailed. And also we wanted to illustrate how your actions can have consequences within the course of a scene. We showed with the Magic scene that your actions could have consequences through the game. Your character could die and then you will lose him, which was still difficult to imagine because you can't play the scene in the current demos. Of course, it's just one scene. But with this scene, you could really see how you can play it differently and see different consequences.
Again, to close, it's one question that I've thought of, but I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it without giving too many spoilers away. But I mean, presuming you've played the game throughout yourself, I mean, have you got a preferred ending? Is it necessarily a happy ending?
My favorite endings are the sad ones. To be honest, it's not the nice happy ending. It's the one when things went wrong. That's just my personal taste.